Now we're gonna check out this crazy ass video that I had held back for a long time. I'm leaving out a lot of information because I have to. Because of the people involved. And you'll understand once you see it. Gotta fatten up the new channel. Need a little more Shogun action. This is one of the stories that I've held back for a long time. It's about my partnership with a former drug dealer. Not a wannabe drug dealer, but a guy with a record and a criminal past. He came up to Georgia for some reason. I think it was his chick because she was born here. And I noticed he was a little different on the auction trail. He was kind of like a dude that was brandy because he would come out with his clean shirt, nice pants, and dress shoes to an auction. Immediately he was an oddity. Stood out like a sore thumb. After a few months, we kind of became friends because this is the rule of thumb of the way it used to be before storage auctions became kumbaya and we are a family like Sister Sledge. New person came out, you didn't really talk to him because you didn't know if they were going to last any time. It's like, what's the point of making a friend with someone who's going to be out here temporarily? What's the point? You can get hurt that way. We started talking, and I noticed that he was aggressive, but he didn't know what he was doing. And at the time, I was only maybe 9-10 months into the game. We talked and he's like, hey, we should be partners. There ain't too many of us out here, meaning the black thing. I was like, I don't know about that. And I said, I already have a partner. And so we talked. And Francine was like, well, maybe, more hands, more money. We'll see what happens. So we worked out a certain deal. This was a pivotal moment in my storage auction career because how I tell you all the time in the other videos, people buy units based on what they can move, not actual unit value. Once we teamed up, and there was more space, and he had a store, and he had a big truck, and we just went bananas. But we didn't let anyone know that we were partners. Sometimes he would be at an auction, and he would bid me up for GP, and then they would let him get a nice unit for a little or nothing. More money. Well, things were going well. In fact, they were going too well. Because he did tell me about his past, and he was very graphic. Told me about the biggest drug deal he ever did with the Colombians, and I went to the hotel, and how he went to this bench and he put a suitcase with $250,000 cash under the suitcase. Then he went up to the room that they told him the drugs were in. He got the room, he pulled out the suitcase, he opened it up, it was the goods, and he walked out the hotel. I was just fascinated because you hear about drug dealers on television. You don't really know about the intricate details because essentially these are professionals. This is what they do. It's not like what you see on the street corner. I was just like, okay, and he told me, he's like, yeah, I've got a record, but he seemed earnest, and I always had that kind of in the back of my head. It's like, does a tiger actually change his stripes? Things kept going on, and they were going good. Like I said, they went from good to gooder to great, making money. eBay was percolating. Craigslist was off the chain. It was ridiculous. Then it happened. Something that normally breaks up a lot of partnerships. Success. One of the best units ever. I don't put this under my unit because it was bought under the partnership. Big boy unit. Full from the rooter to the tutor. Custom unit. A custom unit is when the storage facility breaks down walls and make even a bigger unit. This thing was huge. It was the kind of unit that had doors on both ends. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that when the door went up, I had to have it. Because my pockets were flush. confidence was up to my chin. I was just like, whatever, we gonna do this. And I had a pocket full of cash. And the unit really wasn't that much money. But as we got in the unit, we pulled out the first half. Great furniture, great stuff. But there were two, not one, but two vintage cars in that unit. Estimated value $80,000 for both of them. You would think this would be a good thing. No, it wasn't. Because shortly after we got on the unit, he got on the phone with some of his people. He had an uncle who was a car person, and he heard, and his uncle wasn't doing too well, and he was just like, can I get a piece of that? Can I get just a little piece? That's all I want. Just a little, just give me the end of the bone. And he actually said it just like that. And the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was just like, oh shit. Because when you get stuff like that and more people get involved, it becomes complex, complicated, and the train can go off the tracks. So his uncle got up in his ear and it's like, hey, you got the store, you got the truck, you need a bigger percentage. Because see, the uncle was trying to leverage the opportunity that he really shouldn't have been part of to begin with into a bigger slice for his sorry ass. And he's in the ear. And we're gonna call him FD for former drug dealer, FDD. Because we don't name names here. Unless you're a complete asshole and you do something online, I'll name your sorry ass. So FDD is just like Popeye eating the Spanish. He's just getting stronger on that little talk. The little whisper turns into a loud voice, and then it turns into a scream, and he comes to me and they're like, gee, I think we need to renegotiate. Okay, I can understand that, but we will renegotiate after we complete business that was conducted under the present deal. And I walked off, right? Thought all well was good. And he's like, yo, gee, we really need to negotiate. My uncle was saying some things to me and I kind of agreed. Now what FDD didn't know was I was smarter than the average bear. As soon as his uncle got in on it, I got both of the cars, titled those cars in my name. Titles were in the unit. And they were at his location, but I had the keys and I had the title. So we go through this thing. And my partner is just like, this is not going to end well. And I was like, you're probably right. So I, and some trucks and some Mexicans, my Latino brothers, we go to his location late at night, creeping. We just creeping. I pull out what I feel is fair, and I take one of the cars, which only has a value of $30,000. I left him the best one because I just wanted to be done. I wanted to be out. I wanted to be clean. Needless to say, after he got back to his location and saw that the partnership was severed, and I just said, hey, FDD, you said we need to renegotiate. I had reservations about bringing you in. I taught you some things. I gave you some secrets. And pretty much I felt like you bent me over and then chopped down a telephone pole and threw it up in my ass with some gusto. But you know what? It's life. I left you the best car, left you half the inventory. Slice, we're done. He was not happy. Because see, the uncle was working him. And the uncle had made some promises to some people that you should not make promises to, that if you cannot fulfill those promises. And the next thing I know, I'm getting phone calls from people I don't know. And I'm like, look, you need to talk to FDD. And what we heard was that you have our property. And at that point, I had to buck up. I was like, motherfucker, you've not paid me a dime, which means it's my property. And the harassing phone calls, Google Voice is a great utility. Trust me on this. Because they would call me in, at the time it was Grand Central Station, block. And this went on and went on and went on. And then one day it just stopped. After about a year, I was in the neighborhood where his store was, and I went by there. Building had been foreclosed on. Went next door and talked to the guy, because the thing is, he had built that complex. He had built it from the ground up. The guy said, yeah, the bank came in and just said, shoot, we took it. All types of things happened. He said he tried to do this business, he tried to do this business, and it just didn't work out. And I look at this, and from that point on, I never had another outside long-term partner where we're putting money together, where I'm sharing secrets with you, and I'm no. And my partner was just like, hey, it was a great experience. Because if you remember, I said it was a pivotal point in my storage auction career, and it was. Because I learned how to buy units based on value versus if I can move them or not. It sounds like a simple thing. It sounds very, very simple. But it's very complex because many of you are doing that stuff and you're totally unaware of it. You're just like, yeah. No, you're buying units based on what you can move, not unit value. So you could be looking at a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 unit right in front of your face, but because your infrastructure is not ready, you're gonna let it go by because you're not ready. And that's a travesty. Many years later, I saw him. He wasn't married anymore, and he lost a lot of weight. When I say a lot of weight, I mean a good 50 pounds. And he wasn't really that big to begin with. His eyes were kind of hollowed in. Looked like life was just And I just kind of looked at him, he just kind of looked at me, and he said, we should have stayed partners. It's like, I was all in, but you were doing some stupid shit. And he just nodded. And I said, well, I gotta go. It's all right. And that was the end of it. But with all of that craziness, with all the phone calls, with all the, you got our property, it was worth it because our business started to spin up like crazy. That's why we were able to grow and grow and grow. It's like every other week I was getting a new booth at the flea market to the point where I had to get, and it was just like, it just took off. That one experience. So even when you have bad experiences or you hook up with the wrong person, there's great lessons to be learned if you're open to the message versus hating on the messenger. So if you can do that, because FDD, if you listening, bro, I appreciate you. Thank you, because you made me a lot of money. And I didn't even have your ass on the corner. How's that? Now that's called cooperation, right? Oh, the storage auction business was good to me. It really was. But sometimes when you're going to partner with people, because people are out there hooking up and they're trying to do what they can and put their money together, but many people don't have that business mindset. If you do have a partnership, I don't care if you write it on a napkin, write up responsibilities, how much the payout's going to be, and what's going to happen if this person doesn't do their responsibility. Because in our agreement, which was written, I wrote that at any time I felt that things were funky, I was going to exercise my right to pull out. So, legally, he couldn't even come after me for what I did because it was already structured before we got into that janky part of the river. Because I took a bath, lost some money, but the money I made from going through that experience makes what I lost look like that. I mean, it's minuscule. It's nothing because of what I gained. And that's how you got to work this business or any other business. So that's the deal. Understand, partnerships are tricky. So be careful out there on the auction trail. All right, this is Glendon, and I'll see you in the next video.